You are now listening to the Hot Take
That
Hot
is
Box.
the Flyers trade Cutter Gauthier. Gauthier. There, I've heard. You know what's crazy is
I can't believe he's American.
he's
I don't know.
Swedish. I don't understand how he's American though. He's born in Sweden.
He was born in Sweden.
That's what I don't understand. Like I guess he's like technically an American
I thought
citizen.
I thought he was French Canadian.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, he's Swedish and American.
Yeah, he's Swedish American. That's what I'm saying.
Confused. And he goes to Boston College, so you're like, all right, that's confusing.
Yeah, you're like, and then he's on the U.S. National Development Team. You're like, okay,
William Cutter Ruel Gauthier.
Yeah, okay, Will. I mean, his name's
Willie.
Will. His name, all right, Will Gauthier. All right, so Cutter, he was traded to the Anaheim Ducks for Jamie Drysdale and a second-round pick that I believe is next season.
Next year.
So it comes out basically that Mr. Gauthier was not going to play for the Flyers, did not want to sign with the Flyers, did not want anything to do with the Flyers. He basically turned his back on the organization. They made multiple attempts to kind of speak to him, reconcile whatever their differences was or issues were. There's so many reports flying that he didn't want to play for Tortorella. He didn't trust the rookie GM and Keith Jones situation, that he wasn't going to involve themselves with that. Then Kevin Hayes was brought into this somehow. Now Kevin Hayes is getting death threats. So it got real.
Which is funny.
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny. Which is so funny because Kevin Hayes' brother. That's not funny.
I was gonna say it's funny just because like it's so random. Like, why are you so mad at him? Like, you should obviously it goes without saying. Like, I guess we have to say that you shouldn't be threatening to kill a hockey player because he got another hockey player traded. Like, get a life, dude. But there are so many wrinkles to this, Ty, that it's like it's hard to figure out what's true and what's not.
Yeah, I mean, even Elliot Friedman, who's basically the Adam Schefter of hockey, even he's kind of confused because I think people are keeping it quiet. There's been rumors. I think the Tortorella rumors have been shut down, even though I wouldn't want to play for him either, I guess. But he's doing a good job this year, right? Can't really be mad at him this year. So I guess it really all came down to him wanting to play last year, and there was a point in time where he did want to play for the team, and he did want to be a Flyer, and he was happy, right? People keep comparing it to, I don't know, other situations. Dude, I saw a list of somebody that made a all-time top 10 or top 15 Philadelphia sports fans hate list or whatever you want to.
That's so
and
ridiculous.
I saw him on there, and I'm like, why the fuck is he on there? But JD Drew isn't. JD Drew told the team, I'm not coming, bro. Like, no. Don't draft me. Didn't Eric Lindros also tell whoever that was to not draft him, or is that somebody else?
He told the Quebec Nordiques to not draft him, and they drafted him anyway. I think
there you go.
That's the difference, though, Ty. If he would have told the Flyers before, hey, I don't want to play for the Flyers, then we could be mad at ourselves for drafting him. I think the difference is here, like he changed his mind once he got here. Like something happened, and he was just like, yeah, you know what, I don't want to be here. And then the way he handled it afterwards is just going to put, like, I would put him on the hate list, but he's just not going to be that high. There were some names on there, like Sam Bradford's on there. I'm like, why the fuck do you hate Sam Bradford?
Sam Bradford was here one season, and he was like, he was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. Like, he was okay.
He was a guy.
And the team he had was not that great. So the fact that he's like ahead of Scott Rowland or Ben Simmons or Carson Wentz, like, give me a fucking break. But so I guess what did happen with Cutter Gauthier. I also kind of want to say, like, I feel like it's more of his camp than him. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever know if it's the player, the player's father, the player's camp, his agent. Because in hockey and in sports in general, a lot of people have a lot of voices, and they want to exercise their right to defend their client or their son or their brother. And also during World Juniors, I think it's very normal for players, top prospects, to kind of be held, not held, but like kind of kept quiet and kind of away from everybody, and made unavailable. I think that's a thing that happens. I feel like from what I've read or what I've heard, it's not out of the ordinary for people to not really be able to meet with their prospects at World Juniors. Everybody wants them to focus and whatnot, and so I guess he wanted to play last year, and the Flyers had a overage, right? A bonus, a $1.2 million bonus overage from last season that would have went up extra $212K if Noah Cates made the all rookie team. So I guess they were being careful. They didn't want to risk more overage and charges. And really, if you want to blame anybody for the overages and whatnot, it's the Flyers for giving Rasmus Ristolainen that contract. So you can really blame them for that.
Well,
that was
again,
dumb.
Chuck Fletcher. Let's just say that.
Chuck Fletcher,
the new regime was like trying to
get rid.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The new guys are really having a hard time trying to, scrub the grease that was Chuck Fletcher. But I guess he wanted to play, and they said, well, we don't want you to play because we would go over by 90K. It would add 90K to our overages, which, I mean, come on.
They also didn't want him to play because he wasn't going to probably like they wanted him to develop in college first before he was going to come to the pro. Because what would have happened. Torts was going to try and win right away. He would have probably been soft or trying to learn how to, figure out the NHL life, and they wouldn't have had time for him. They'd have been like, yeah, all right.
But the issue was, like, they were, 7th in the division? Like, there wasn't really any need or want to win. Like, I don't think he would have been like, oh, we can't play him because we're trying to win and he's going to be bad for us. Like, maybe he would have sucked. I mean, he was 18, 19, but, I mean, if you look at how good he is, I feel like he would have played a little bit. Mainly, he just wanted to get some experience. And that happens all the time. Players will burn the first year of their ELC just to get a couple games and just to get familiar. And sometimes they'll even sign an AHL tryout, an AHL ATO, just so they can kind of get familiar with the North American and the minor leagues and the NHL and kind of get used to the ice and how different it is and rules wise, and playing with some teammates that you might play with in the future. But I guess he wanted to play. They didn't want him to play, and they said no. And then I guess that must have been what did it. It must have been. I just think that when you end up trading your best prospect because you're worried about a small cap overage coming off a year where you're 7th in division, it just kind of seems like roster just malpractice, roster management wise. All because you signed Rasmus Ristolainen. I don't know, man. I don't know why you would completely ghost the entire organization, especially when it's new faces, right? Like Danny Briere, Keith Jones, these guys are kind of new. Like, you've talked to them a little bit, right? I think May 11th was. Let me go back to this. Yeah. I guess some of this happened before May 11th when Danny Briere and Keith Jones got hired, and then they had a Zoom call with him a couple weeks later on the 28th when they wanted him to sign. So something happened in that range where maybe he wasn't really mad at these two specifically. Maybe it wasn't Danny Briere and Keith Jones. Like, I don't know if they did anything wrong, right? It probably wasn't their call. Maybe it was. I don't know, but he must have been mad at the organization and said, you know what? I'm not playing. Fuck this. His agent said, fuck this, or he told his agent to say fuck this, or he told his dad, or whoever and whatever was the problem. He said, I don't want to play there anymore. I'm not going to play there anymore. Seems very rash. I think we saw it happen recently with fuck's his name? With the Coyotes, Logan Cooley. I think he's still on the Coyotes, but I think something happened along those lines like that. But I don't know. I mean, it just seems very odd. The thing that I really did not love was Danny Briere, Keith Jones going on like a smear campaign the next day. I loved it. The very next day. You guys are grown-ass men smearing some 19-year-old kid. I don't know. I think this whole – I saw Danny Carcillo tweet something like, he's not tough enough to be in Philly. He doesn't want to be a Flyer, so he's not going to be a Flyer. Some of that is just a little corny and cringy, but also on the opposite end, I don't understand that from the players' outlook. Like, the contract's not expiring. It's not like he was about to expire this year, so then he can kind of pick where he goes in free agency, like Kevin Hayes. Yeah, it wasn't like that situation. So I truly wonder if there was more to it. It kind of makes me feel a little weird because Briere and Keith Jones came out right away. It seemed like they wanted to be the first ones to comment, and they wanted to plant the seed like, nah, he didn't want to be here, so fuck him. And maybe that's true. Maybe he didn't want to be here at all, and he just told them to go fuck themselves and iced them out completely after one little disagreement. Maybe. I don't know. It just seems a little bit, on both sides, I think it's a little mismanaged.
Ty, all I had to hear was a couple of the stories of them trying to go meet with him in college, sending John, he wouldn't talk to John LeClaire, wouldn't talk to Patrick Sharp, wouldn't talk to any of these guys. I'm pretty sure Danny Briere or but one of these guys went to go visit him at college at one of his practices, and he sent his college coach out of the locker room to tell them that he wasn't going to talk to them. Like, that's insane. Like, that you are a fucking coward. I have no love for this kid whatsoever. Obviously, I shouldn't, but it's just the way he handled this whole situation was horrible. It was horrible. His team, whatever it was, they didn't care though. They just simply did not want to play here. I don't know what their problem was with the city or with the organization or whatever it is. All the different reasons until he comes out and says it himself. I won't believe anything that he has to say or anything that comes out about it. And honestly, I don't believe anything he has to say because he was not man enough to even come out and say it to them. So I think the Danny Briere and Keith Jones, they had to do that though, Ty, because we were, as a fan base, we're going to lose our fucking minds because we have been hyping this kid up for. I mean, we're our fan base that is starving for some young talent. We have been dying on this hill for years now. We haven't had a guy come up that has been, like that highly touted, and it seems like forever. And that kid's over there at the World Juniors tearing it up. So it's like we're all excited. We're retweeting his videos of him scoring these goals, and we're like, dude, I can't wait till Cutter gets here. I was just talking with my boy Corey the other day, saying like, dude, it's gonna be sick when we have him and Mitchkov together. Like hockey's coming back. Like it's here. And then he gets traded. The first instinct of everybody was like, what the fuck are the Flyers doing? Like, why would they trade him? So like they had to come out and say that. I think they did it in the nicest way possible. I think they wanted to be like, fuck that kid, he's a fucking pussy. But they didn't say that. They were just like, well, if you don't want to be a Flyer, then you won't be here. That's just how it goes. So
that's a pretty good one.
Like that, yeah. But I've been doing the Canadian accent for quite some time. But
the Briere one's very, very specific.
The Flyers, they didn't play well. It's like I understand. I get what you're saying though. Like it is a little nuts. But I think in this specific situation, it called for it because that kid put them in a bad spot, man. He really did. He should have he told. Apparently, they knew this a year ago. So like you said, like the second they got hired, they were like, "Yo, like what's going on?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Nah, dude." They were like basically no. They didn't talk to him. They didn't want anything to do with him. We don't want to be a Flyer. We don't want to play in Philadelphia. Well, is there anything we can do to change that? No answer. Just wanted nothing to do with them. They were going to do the Kevin Hayes thing and wait till, I guess he was going to keep just playing in college. That's what it sounded like the plan was. And then he was just going to go into free agency when the thing runs out. I don't know. But it went about as well. It went about as well as it did. So
now he's in the Ducks with Trevor Zegras, who, by the way, was like inseparable from Jamie Drysdale. So, he even had a quote where he said we pee together, which I thought was a bit much.
Wild.
Hockey culture is a little weird, but
yeah, it is.
Jamie Drysdale was a top 5 pick, unless he was 6 a couple years ago. But
he was 6.
He hasn't panned out yet. Again, he's 21, I think, right? So super young. He was on a really fucking bad team with the Ducks. But he played like every game a couple years ago. Didn't play much last year, and I think he might have been hurt. And then this year he's only played 10 games, 1 goal, 4 assists. But it's just a big downgrade prospect wise. Cutter Gauthier has a chance. I saw somebody say, "Well, yeah, they didn't want him anyway. He wanted to play center." I was like, "Bro, that means absolutely nothing." Connor Bedard wants to play center. You think they're going to tell him, "Hey, you can't play center"? They're going to try, and when it doesn't work, they're going to be like, "Yo, we got to switch you to wing." Same thing with Gauthier. I don't know if he could play center. Probably not, but you try and then you put him on the wing. But man, he's like one of the best prospects in hockey right now. Jamie Drysdale, maybe at one point he was, but man, he is not anymore. He's kind of fizzled out. It's not all over for sure. A change of scenery could definitely help. It's helped in hockey for many different players. Maybe less taxes. Maybe he'll like that, right? Because California will tax the shit out you.
Yeah.
Not being with Zegras probably is not great. I'm sure he doesn't love that. But I'm sure he has a little bit more help now around him. Defensively and maybe offensively also. Definitely on a better team. But, and you also get a second-round pick, which should be a decently early second-round pick next year. But still, I think it's a huge downgrade, right? I think the only reason he went as high as he did in that draft was because there was a lack of defensemen in that draft. It was pretty much all wingers, all forwards, and then you had Amosov, the goalie, who went high. And he was just like one of 2 or 3 defensemen that went top 15-ish, I think, something like that. So, I think I just think it's a big downgrade. Like, you really have to hope Jamie Drysdale pans out and turns into a top four, top two defenseman, or else, I understand all the circumstances. Like, you kind of had to trade the kid, right? Especially while you could, while people didn't know that he wanted out, right? Because everybody knew, then nobody would have given up. Even eventually, you give up a 4th-round pick, and then you'd be like, wow, we got a 4th-round pick for a top 5 prospect. That's not good. So at least you got something, but it doesn't look great from that angle. And Philly fans, I don't think they're gonna get mad at Briere or Keith Jones. You know how Philly fans are. They're gonna get behind this regime, and they're gonna say, fuck this kid, and he's gonna get booed when he comes back. And if he does, we'll see. But I think from a talent perspective, they really lose this deal in a big way. And I think, it's not the best start for the new regime, but I guess their hands were kind of tied. Yeah, I guess their hands were kind of tied. So, I mean, I don't really know. There's no win-win here. I think everybody loses, honestly. I think this kid loses tremendously.
I think so, too. I think for Cutter, it would have been a perfect situation for him to step into. I would think that rather than going to Anaheim, who no one's – I mean, I guess it's better to live in California, but no one's really – you're not – those guys aren't going to be good for a while as well. Like,
yeah, it's going to take a little bit.
They're in the same position that we are. And like you said, like Zegras, they're already talking about him maybe getting moved. Like, he's the next guy that they're kind of just like cleaning house over there, and that they might just Rangers,
Crazy.
Flyers, like all these different teams, like all these different websites and stuff are like, well, maybe he could get traded next. Like, even reputable sources are talking about that. So I don't know if that's what he's still young. A lot of these guys are young. I don't know if that's what, exactly the move. But like you said, that guy was best buddies with Drysdale. He was holding his sword while he was taking a leak. So it's allegedly. So
Allegedly.
who knows? But I'm just. It's a shame that the Flyers were put in this position. It really is. It's upsetting that we don't get to see Cutter here in Philadelphia when we were so excited about him, for this past year. But I don't think he would have. If this is his mentality and he was this scared to even talk to people, then I don't think it would have worked out here anyway. He may wind up being a great player, but it's more than just being a great player, being a professional athlete. You have to deal with a certain level of scrutiny. Now, maybe in Anaheim, I don't even know who reports on hockey in Anaheim. I don't know.
Not many people.
Yeah, what the deal is. I don't know. I really don't even know. But it's, here in Philly, it's a little bit more intense, I guess, than it would have been there. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think it was just more of his management or team just making a bigger deal out of something than it needed to be, and it just kind of snowballed. And they, instead of hey, let's all meet, let's get to the table, let's talk about this, it just got worse and worse and worse. I don't know. I can't wait to hear the true story of what happened.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see if somebody else played a part. Well, his dad, his mom, his brother, his cousin, his agent.
Kevin Hayes. That's what they keep saying.
Kevin Hayes, the Boston College head coach.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Somebody.
I don't know.
I'm not even saying it's one of them. I'm just saying, I want to know what the actual, straw that broke the camel's back sort of thing was. Like, what made him not want to come here? Was it the fact that they want that bonus overage thing? Okay, I still don't get it, but I can at least understand it from in an aspect. I just right now it makes no sense if it's just I didn't like the all the different reports are just people guessing. I didn't like the coach. Yeah. I didn't like the rookie GM. That's basically what it was, rookie GM. That's not Danny Briere. A guy who's played in the biggest games and that hockey has to offer. It's just rookie GM. Okay. But I just I do like Ty. One more thing before we wrap this up is I like how united the Philadelphia fan base became in hatred towards Mr. Cutter Gauthier. It reinvigorated this fan base.
You knew they were going to rally against the kid, even if it's not the kid's fault. So, I don't know. Nobody knows. Even if Elliot Friedman doesn't know, I fucking don't know. So yeah. I'd like to reserve a little bit of judgment, but it looks bad on both sides. It kind of reminds me of when guys, when baseball front offices keep players in the minor leagues to, delay their service time so they don't have to pay them as much and keep going arbitration year. Like the Cubs did with Chris Bryant, which was just insane. They didn't want to call him up. They're like, yeah, we'll put him in AAA. And he's hitting .650. It's like, bro. So maybe it's like this, they don't want to burn. They want to kind of delay. They want to delay his RFA and UFA statuses by a year, costing him possibly millions of dollars. So I think it's just mismanagement on both sides. they fucked up. They lost a prospect. He fucked up. He lost an opportunity, and now he's kind of in a bad light. Now he's in Anaheim. Maybe that team is a complete dumpster fire. They already are a complete dumpster fire. Maybe the Flyers are ready to compete next year or in 2 or 3 years. So he, I think, lost out on a chance there, and now he's being vilified all over the city. Even other fans are making him out to be the bad guy. So that's where he fucked up. That's where his camp fucked up, and I think the Flyers camp fucked up. So everybody fucked up in this. Maybe it was the old Flyers regime. Maybe it wasn't really as much. Maybe the new regime came in and who knows? I don't even want to try to guess and act like I know what the fuck I'm talking about because I don't. So just an all-around messy situation. I am always in the belief that these are young kids and, they're weird, right? In college recruiting, I think there's always weirdness going on, but you got to know that. And from a higher-up perspective, a front office perspective, you got to just try to do what you can to keep these guys. But I guess there was just no keeping him in this situation. So, what can you do? You can't just let him walk like the Blackhawks let Kevin Hayes walk, and I'm still mad at him for that. So I guess I'm not really one to talk about forgiving a kid. So
yeah, it's just that when you get drafted though, you can't get that back. You can't put that, you can't bottle that back up. It's you screwed us. Whether whoever was right or wrong, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you really did screw us, and it's hard for us to kind of get back from that, bounce back from that, and hopefully this Drysdale kid turns into a competent, sort of power play guy. Like I've heard a lot of different explanations of what he could bring to the team. I'll be excited. At least he's a guy who can help them this season right now, So yeah, that's the one positive. But this is going to be a continuing story, and the hatred for Mr. Cutter is going to continue. Mr. William Gauthier is going to continue.
You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.